One of the major reasons why the MSMEs don't have access is the perceived high risk that they bring to our participating financial institution, to the commercial banks. And that's one of the areas that we want to address. They have limited collateral, then there's low lender confidence.
You're welcome to the Economy and Politics Conversation. I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. This edition will discuss enhancing credit guarantees for Nigeria's retail sector. Joining me virtually for this conversation is Mr. Bonaventure Okhaimo. He's the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, National Credit Guarantee Company. Great to have you on this conversation, Mr. Bonaventure Okhaimo.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Let's begin by asking you about the current state of Nigeria's credit guarantee landscape. And of course, you have the NCGC, which has been created by the government. How is it significant at this time?
Thank you so much for your question. As you are aware, the credit guarantee market is still very nascent. We have a lot of unmet demand, and this is despite the presence of some few specialized players. Private sector participation also exists, but is limited, leaving most segments of the economy without access to guarantee-backed credit. Recognizing this systemic challenge, that's why the government, under our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, has implemented a very significant reform, which is the establishment of the National Credit Guarantee Company. Now, before this establishment of the company, we've had some other intervention in the past. We had the establishment of the National Collateral Registry under the Secure Transactions in Movable Assets Act of 2017. And then, of course, this allows MSMEs to use movable assets like machineries, inventory, and livestock as collateral, broadening their access to credit. But despite this, we've been having a lot of unmet demand. Think about it. The MSMEs, we have almost 38 million MSMEs in Nigeria as at the last count, but less than 5% of them have access to finance. Additionally, my mandate covers local manufacturers as well. We have about 25,000 local manufacturers that don't have access to finance. And in the consumer credit segment, there's an unmet demand as well, and that's why the NCGC has come in now. Our broad mandate is to derisk lending, provide access to credit to underserved segment, including MSMEs, local manufacturers, and consumer, and crowded private sector investment as well.
Thank you for greatly highlighting your mandate, and of course, the gaps. Quite interesting that only 5% of 38 million MSMEs as captured by the National Bureau of Statistics and working with the Small Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria and lack access to finance. And of course, even the manufacturing sector is also, local ones are also underfunded. It has come at a very critical time. But I'm going to ask you, because you just mentioned one part of the risk that MSMEs face in the country, which is access to finance, which is why the National Credit Guarantee Company has been set up. How do you intend to address these challenges and create broad opportunities for businesses, knowing that when the MSMEs have access to finance, they're able to contribute to the growth of the economy? They account for over 80% of GDP activities and even 90% of employment.
Okay, thank you very much. So, like you rightly noted, one of the major reasons why the MSMEs don't have access is the perceived high risk that they bring to our participating financial institution, to the commercial banks. And that's one of the areas that we want to address. They have limited collateral, then there's low lender confidence. To address this, we are providing partial credit guarantees, sharing up to 60% of the lending risk that the financial institutions, and this is encouraging them to lend more confidently through our products. What we've done so far, we have developed two key products: the individual loan guarantees and the portfolio guarantees. Now, just to provide a little bit more light, the individual guarantee will cover loans of up to 5 years. Moratorium is inclusive, and working capital loans of up to 24 months, with amount ranging from 50 million to about 10 billion naira for an individual guarantee. And then we also have portfolio guarantees. Portfolio guarantees are for homogeneous, let's say, MSMEs that are operating in the same sector, and then for consumer credit as well. And those ones, we're going to cover loans of up to 50 million, tax the max, and will be, for a PFI basis, it will be about 5 billion per portfolio for a maximum of about 36 months. We signed an MOU about 3 weeks ago with 15 banks in Lagos, showing our intention to collaborate. And we are then going to build up with this. We have also started sending out our guarantee framework agreements for them to sign up. And once we've done that, we have a whole lot of pipeline that are ready to start enjoying the services. So additionally, what we're going to do is to prioritize inclusive growth by targeting youth-led and women-led enterprises, because these are the major areas we feel we need to encourage into the ecosystem. We've created strategic partnership, like I said. We want to collaborate. Once we do that collaboration, we are adding complementary capacity building and training to help the MSMEs improve their creditworthiness, strengthen the coverage of bureaus and private credit registry, because this is another part of the ecosystem that we also engage in. Because we believe that once we have the credit bureau and the credit registry, we would then look at additional ways of reviewing credits that make it much more advantageous for the PFIs to then understand the risk that MSMEs and all the other sectors are bringing in, and then the willingness to lend more. And of course, we support it by our credit guarantee. Thank you.
I'm impressed because the first time I met you, that was at the Maiden MSME Finance CEO Forum in Lagos. You said during the panel discourse that it was 10, but now you've increased to 15 financial institutions, which is quite remarkable. I also like the fact that you said youth and women-led MSMEs, which is critical to unlocking the economy and opportunities. But most importantly, at this time, just speak a bit to how differently you would strengthen this credit guarantee work, especially at a time where we really need to impact the Nigerian MSME landscape. You know that the interest rate regime remains a big challenge for MSMEs. Currently, we're looking at 27% after the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting, and some banks, of course, all the financial institutions, we're looking at over 20% except those intervention funds. So how are you going to balance this?
Okay, thank you. So basically, like I said earlier, there are some credit guarantee companies that are already operating within the country, but we are significantly different. First, we have the backing of the federal government of Nigeria. Our capital base is much more, and that gives us significant room to play. So when we are saying, because I know for most of the other credit guarantee companies, when they are looking at a MSME business, the maximum loan amount is less than what we are doing. So in our own case, we are looking at loan amount in the region of up to 10 billion. 10 billion is the guarantee, and that would be 60% of the loan amount. So obviously, the loan amount will be much more than the 10 billion we've talked about, because we are going to share up to 60%. The initial capital that the government has granted to us is also quite significantly higher than what you currently find in the market. That would create more opportunity, because what happened with the credit guarantee company is that it's your share capital that you leverage. You leverage it to be able to do much more businesses with the financial institution. The regulation, the Central Bank of Nigeria regulation, allows us to leverage up to 10 times. So if I leverage 100 billion, I'll be issuing credit guarantees of up to 1 trillion. within the ecosystem. But we want to start with a leverage of 3 times. That would take us to about 300 guarantees. Now, the additional things that we are doing to strengthen the ecosystem is the fact that what other guarantee companies do is just to do credit guarantee, but we want to collaborate with them. Our mandate also include a co-guarantee mandate. So that means we bring in all the other credit guarantee companies that are operating within Nigeria, even the foreign ones that are coming in. We can co-guarantee with them. We can do re-guarantee, and that would expand the risk-sharing ecosystem and then help us do a lot much more than what we are doing. And I believe that with all of these things that we are bringing in, the Nigerian banks will find it more incentivizing, right, to do more, because we're going to get a lot more agencies willing to share this risk. And if we are sharing risk and we are doing a co-guarantee, what is left for the banks to take on? All they then need to do is to provide much more access to our MSMEs. And of course, we are also looking at additional incentives as we are coming on. We are going to be doing a lot more of this incentive to encourage them to go to those areas that are totally underserved. Risk is what determines the price. That's one of the key things that determine the price that you are giving to your customers, right? Yeah. Sharing that risk ultimately would encourage the PFIs to reduce the pricing.
That's very interesting. And I want to ask you, because when we look at funding or interventions, of course, we've seen so many interventions for micro, small, medium enterprises, but of course, credit guarantee is very critical. Now, are you also looking at subnationals and various MSME clusters to work with in terms of strengthening the sector? Because that is one of the most unique ways of also enhancing this that will really address financing challenges for MSMEs, unlock opportunities, and reduce poverty in the country.
Like I said earlier, there's a whole lot of partnerships that are available within the ecosystem that will encourage this. The good thing is, all of the banks that I've gone to, the managing directors and the senior executives that I've had conversation with, they are all interested. Think about it. The Central Bank of Nigeria has told our commercial bank to go and increase their capital. As a last count, the governor of the CBN said 14 of the banks have actually met the regulatory capital requirements. They need to deploy that capital. They have to deploy that capital. There are very few large corporates with lower risk that they want to deal with. So they have to come down market to the MSMEs and the local manufacturer base, even the consumer credit that we are interested in. And that's why it is good that we are coming in at this time.
Yeah.
So we are going to do quite a lot to engage around both subnationals and even other, like I mentioned earlier, the credit bureaus, credit registry, to find out how we can all come together and make MSME and other local manufacturer and consumer credit financing very, very attractive for our participating financial institutions to lend to. Thank you.
Partnership is very key to your impact. So how is collaboration going, especially with the related agencies and MDAs that will help to fast track your activities? For example, the Small Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, the Federal Consumer Competition Protection Commission, especially FCCPC, where we've seen over the time some guidelines over non-intimidation of people that have credit issues or so, how you're going to work with them. And then, of course, the Central Bank of Nigeria and other critical agencies that have to do with credit and finance.
All right, thank you very much. So first and foremost, I will first of all express my gratitude to the CBN for giving us our license in record time and then supporting us to do all that we've started doing. And of course, we are still going to engage with them. Part of one of the things we're doing is that for our products, we are also getting the approval and the support of the regulator to ensure that what we are doing will meet all the consumer protection requirements, even the data protection requirements. So we are collaborating with everyone. You know, part of our mandate includes capacity building. I mentioned that earlier. Technical assistance to the participating financial institution, capacity building to MSMEs as well. So we started engaging with the National Association of Small Medium Scale Enterprises, NASME. We started engaging with NASIMA. We've been in contact with SMIDA, like you pointed out, and we will start engaging them as well to find out ways we can collaborate and improve on the ecosystem as well. So there's quite a lot of other activities that we are doing. Partnership is very key, like you said. And through our services and product, we intend to unlock the lending potentials. Recall I said earlier that we have signed an MOU with some banks, and then we are increasing it to also sign MOUs with some of the other guarantee companies. There's Impact Credit Guarantee Company. We've signed an MOU with them. We've also signed an MOU with Infra Credit, within the company. So that is part of all the things that we are doing to ensure that we bring in more players to support us to improve the ecosystem. Thank you.
It's good to hear that you've had an MOU with Infra Credit, very critical guarantee in terms of infrastructure and support of corporate organizations and companies. Let's look at communications, very critical. For any national intervention or agency or government parastatal, the most important thing is communication, and not just communication, impacts of performance. So do we expect this quarterly to see how the NCGC has fared? Because credit is very critical to the growth of an economy.
Yeah, definitely. The first thing we did when we launched, we went to Lagos, that obviously is the commercial capital of Nigeria, and had a stakeholder engagement forum where we announced our plans and what we want to do. This we'll be doing on a quarterly basis. Obviously, we've commissioned our website, and as we're moving on, we're going to be highlighting on the website dashboard of all the maybe guarantee issuance and the areas and the sectors that we have started touching. Obviously, as a regulated agency, our annual reports, our financials will be in the eyes of the public. But despite that, we would actively source for opportunities like this to have conversation with media, with press, with members of the public to show where we are. Where we need support, of course, we would definitely call upon everybody to help us. We are running a transparent operations where we ensure that all the impact we made. We've engaged a monitoring and evaluation officer before even starting operations, so that everything we do, we ensure that impact measurement is part of our operations.
Thank you very much. As we've discussed, credit is very critical to the growth of any economy. We've seen what has happened in US, UK, France, Western countries, and even in the Far East, China, Japan, amongst others. So if we get it right in credit guarantees, definitely we're sure of a sustainable and inclusive economy. Thank you very much, Mr. Bonaventure Okhaimo, the MD and CEO of Nigeria Credit Guarantee Company, for the insightful session on enhancing credit guarantees for Nigeria's retail sector. Thank you once again for the time.
Thank you very much. I look forward to having more fruitful conversation with you. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much once again. Thank you for the time. To our viewers, if you want to get further insights on this conversation, visit the ProShare website displayed on the screen and follow the WebTV social media platforms to engage. We want to take out this time to pay tribute to the Federal Inland Revenue Service and United Capital over the loss of their staff in the recent Afriland Properties fire incident. We commiserate with them and pray for the repose of the souls of those departed. Till we come your way again, keep tabs with socio-economic developments around you. I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.